Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Bitcoin update. Bitcoin is approaching rapidly to its first golden cross on the weekly chart in history. And obviously, the bulls are getting ahead of themselves. The bears are calling it a big scam. I'm going to be giving you objective analysis in that regard. First time in history. It's a big deal, right? This golden cross between the 200-week SMA and the 50-week SMA. Now, historically, obviously, golden crosses have been a very good thing, and bear crosses, death crosses, have been a very bad thing. So it'll be interesting to see what occurs here. I've got objective analysis to give you in that regard. We also have a short-term, medium-term, and long-term update looking into an ascending triangle forming on the Bitcoin short-term, as well as the macro levels and what will happen next, and how, more importantly, you should be reacting to the chart. So ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Guys, before we get into today's content, let's check out the VIP group on Telegram. On Telegram, as you can see, we have the VIP information and results group on the screen right now. You can see the payment information, the pricing details, the details of exactly what you get when you join the VIP group, as well as the free trial information if you want to test it out without paying, and then the PDF with all the trading results. Full transparency in there, right? You're getting exactly what you sign up for. You got all the trading results in there, 80.5% win rate. Go ahead and check it out on Telegram if you're interested for free. All right, so let's get into the content today. So I'm splitting this video up into two parts. The first part's going to be looking at the golden cross that's incoming on Bitcoin and how, generally speaking, golden crosses are actually bullish, but this one actually could be a scam. There's a lot of speculation going on regarding that. We're looking at that from a weekly perspective and also historical golden crosses and bear crosses on the 3-day perspective. And then the second part of this video, we'll be looking at the short-term to medium-term price action, even a bit of long-term, just in terms of like actual price developments on Bitcoin charts right now, triangle formations, etc., ascending lines, channels, all that kind of stuff. So this is part one. You can check out the timestamps to see the parts. Okay guys, so what we have on the screen right now is the weekly chart, okay? And on the weekly chart, we have these two lines, the red line and the green line. The red line is the 50 SMA and the green line is the 200 SMA. Now, on any chart you look at, okay, a cross between the 200 SMA and the 50 SMA can either be a golden cross, which is bullish, or a death cross, which is bearish, okay, as per the name. So when the red line, the 50 SMA, crosses underneath with the green line, that is called a death cross. That is a bearish thing to happen. And when the green line crosses under, okay, the red line, that is a golden cross, which is a bullish thing to happen. Now, on the 3-day chart, this has been particularly prevalent. So on the 3-day chart, for example, we've seen historically quite a few golden crosses, quite a few death crosses. There was a death cross over here, obviously bearish price action followed. There was a golden cross over here, bullish price action followed. There was a death cross over here, bearish price action followed. So, a reasonable degree of accuracy. Obviously there was a golden cross over here, but we saw kind of bearish price action, so it failed in that regard. And there was a death cross over here, it worked very well. Bearish price action, golden cross, I suppose we dropped downwards, but ultimately we saw bullish price action that followed. So the fact of the matter is these golden crosses and death crosses, at least on the 3-day chart, have been relatively accurate, right? They haven't been accurate 100% of the time, but they certainly have catchy names. Death cross, okay? Death cross is a very scary, emotionally appealing thing, and golden cross as well is very filled with hopium, filled with joy. So obviously it's very good for views and clicks, and that's how I kind of look at these things. I actually don't think that golden crosses and death crosses are of massive importance, but they have surged in popularity quite recently because back here in February 2023, we saw the first ever death cross in Bitcoin's entire weekly chart price history, okay? And given the prevalence of golden crosses and death crosses on the 3-day chart and the relatively, I guess you could say, valid degree of accuracy they had on the 3-day chart, people were very scared about this death cross here. And that fear actually resulted in a rejection, right? We saw the death cross occur. We went downwards from 25k down to 19k in a pretty swift period of time in 3 weeks. And so it did technically work, quote unquote. And so now we're coming in, and you can see the red line rapidly approaching the green line and coming in for a golden cross. If we're making an estimation of when that will occur, we can just take a straight line and kind of chart and kind of measure where these would cross each other. And we're looking at somewhere to do with January next year. We can see a golden cross, and on paper, a golden cross in January next year will be very bullish. Now, and that will be the first ever golden cross, by the way. First time in Bitcoin's entire price history we would have seen a golden cross, so on the weekly chart, which is actually pretty big. And given the fact that the last death cross saw a 6k drop to the downside, it's pretty reasonable to be excited for that golden cross. But I'm, not going to feed into this hopium too much, because I understand that these indicators, right, the 50 SMA, the 200 SMA, are more or less useless and more or less just kind of paint the picture of what we can already see on the chart. So if you look at what happened, yes, we saw a def cross here. Yes, we dropped down because of a def cross. But that's not the only reason why we dropped down. We also dropped down because Bitcoin was testing the top of a very major resistance zone, okay? It was testing a range that was identified as a drop in the drop in May, for example. Let me get the pen up. Identified in drop in May, identified for a rejection back in August. We were testing it once more. Of course we rejected from it. Of course we went downwards and we broke to the upside and then flipped it, right? So we didn't drop because of the def cross. I mean, yeah, okay, that's part of the reason. Or perhaps it's another description of what happened, or perhaps it's one of the reasons we went downwards. But the idea that the def cross by itself on the weekly chart was the fundamental reason why we moved downwards on Bitcoin here is not really true, okay? You can also see that even if we're removing the def cross itself from the equation, we also rejected from a 200 SMA, the 200-week SMA, which is one of the strongest indicators in Bitcoin's entire price history. The 200-week SMA predicted the bottom on Bitcoin, okay, in February 2015, in August 2015. It predicted the bottom here during 2019 bear market, during the COVID drop. You know, so to act like the def cross was the reason we went down rather than a rejection from one of the strongest Bitcoin indicators in existence, as well as a horizontal resistance line that was present from the year before, you know, to act like it was the def cross that led to rejection is a little bit asinine in my opinion. And this is my problem with golden crosses and def crosses in general. It's like, yeah, it would be very well and good for me to sit here and say, oh guys, there's a golden cross coming, Bitcoin's going to pump so much. It'd be very easy for me to say that. But if I'm being honest with myself, if I'm having a degree of intellectual honesty, I can look at the Bitcoin charts and I can find a very simple explanation for why we have dropped every time we've seen def crosses and why we've pumped every time we've seen golden crosses, right? Well, okay, let's look at one of these from the 3-day chart. Why did we drop when we saw the def cross here? I'll tell you why. It's very simple. We had a cyclical bull market top. The 4-year cycle predictive top was in. Bitcoin was already in very negative selling pressure. We had an ascending channel formation forming, which we called the entire time during this move. We said Bitcoin was bearish. Everyone told me I was a clown. I said Bitcoin was going to drop down. It did. We saw a rejection from the 200-day SMA. If I brought up the daily chart, you'd see it. There was a rejection from a 200-day SMA right here. We saw bearish RSI as well, and we saw bearish volume and an upwards trend. Of course, we were going to drop down. You know what I mean? This is the thing. Moving averages, okay, move when the prices move. Moving averages are nothing more than descriptive measures of what's going on the price chart already. They don't occur independently of price action. If the price moves down, a moving average moves down. So these golden crosses and def crosses are natural reactions, basically of random pieces of maths that copy the movements in the price chart. It's no coincidence that they look like they're doing things, but I think it ends at that. I think golden crosses and def crosses only have effects on a chart because people think they do, and so obviously people buy and sell them into existence because the price moves when people buy, the price moves when people sell. There's the same reason, you know, this is the same reason why astrology and cryptocurrency actually isn't ridiculously inaccurate. And I know that sounds stupid, but as an analyst I can tell that. That's not because the stars tell Bitcoin what to do. It's not because like Jupiter has an effect on the charts. It's because so many people believe that it has an effect on the charts and so many people react based on it that it actually works to an extent because people believe it into existence. They will it into existence with their buy and sell orders. So I think it's the same thing with golden and def crosses. I don't think they should be taken too seriously. I don't think you should look at them like it's a life or death. Oh, this is it. This is the final thing. This is all that matters, because it's not. Even though it might look like that to an extent in the prior price action, there have been times when it's failed, and there are always more accurate measures and more valid and more reliable measures to predict the same results. If the charts look bullish, a golden cross doesn't cause the pump. The golden cross is part of the reason the pump occurred. Very simple stuff. So yes, we are going into the first golden cross in Bitcoin's entire price history. I know on the weekly chart, I know it's exciting to a certain extent, but ground yourself in reality. It's not the only thing that matters in the price charts, and I'll end it there. Before we get into the second segment, let's check out the Bitget and Bingx exchanges. Guys, the Bingx exchange is a global non-KYC exchange. You can literally sign up with just an email address and a password, and Bitget is a global KYC exchange. You can sign up from anywhere in the world aside from the United States of America. With an email address and a password and identity verification. Sign up to either of these exchanges, based on their geographical requirements. I just told you, they've both got very low trading fees. They've both never been hacked. I've handpicked both of them as exchanges that I personally use for different reasons. 15% trading fee discount is available with my referral link, as well as thousands of dollars in rewards on the rewards center with my referral link only. So go ahead and do that if you're interested. Let's get into the second segment of the video. Guys, Bitcoin will be making a big price directional decision within 3 days. That is the claim I'm making in this video, right? I'm making that claim because of this reason. We have an ascending triangle formation forming on the price chart. On the hourly chart, you can see it right now with 2 clean retests of the top side of a triangle and 3 clean retests of the bottom side of a triangle. Actually, 4 clean retests of the bottom side of a triangle. So a very valid structure. An ascending triangle formation, as you guys know, an ascending triangle formation is actually historically a very bullish formation for Bitcoin. Breaks to the upside around 73% of the time, according to the Crypto Academy. And so if we're looking at this formation, we're looking at that structure alone, we can see and we can analyze Bitcoin. We can say, okay, Bitcoin's bullish, but unfortunately it's not that simple, okay? What it does tell us for sure is that we will be seeing a breakout of the structure within 3 days. And so we know that to be the truth. That will be a break to the upside of a downside. So we know what's going to be happening in terms of dates, but we don't really know what's going to happen in terms of direction because of the conflicting data on the Bitcoin charts. Now, I know that's not the answer you want to hear as viewers of a YouTube channel. You want to be getting clear answers up or down, but unfortunately, sometimes it's simply not that simple. And we can explain this a little bit further by looking at the actual zone we're testing right now. The red box on the screen right now is stemming from around 37.5k to 39.5k. That is our major macro resistance, a major macro resistance box. And at the same time as us testing that major macro resistance box for resistance, right, and rejecting from it for weeks on end at the moment, we're also forming an ascending channel formation, a large ascending channel formation stemming back from August 2022 and from a downside in December 2022. This is obviously a pattern of exhaustion and a pattern of rejection, a pattern that should break down ultimately. So it's hard to, sit here and say, oh, guys, Bitcoin's bullish because it has an ascending triangle formation on the hourly chart and ignore the fact that Bitcoin is actually in a 1.5 year almost bearish structure, and ignore the fact that Bitcoin is actually seeing, has seen recently a rejection from an RSI, horizontal RSI line, this red line on the screen right now, that we haven't broken to the upside since pre-2019. And to, ignore the fact that we've seen volume decrease rapidly, right? Rapid decreases in volume over the entire course of this recent upwards trend. Ignoring all of these things, bearish divergence is another thing on the daily chart RSI. It's just ridiculous. It's obscene. You can't ignore all of these things and look at 1 hourly chart ascending triangle formation and be bullish on Bitcoin. Look, if I'm being completely honest, and this is based on the charts itself, right? This is, I think to an extent, removing all of the subjective bias that I might have at this point. If I'm being completely honest, I see much more reason to be bearish on the short term than I do to be bullish. Much more reason. The reason why I say I'm not exactly sure where Bitcoin is going to break over the next 3 days, even though I'm admitting there's going to be a breakout in the next 3 days, is because purely it's illogical as an analyst to sit here and look at a bullish triangle formation and say, oh, it's bearish. It's just illogical to do that. You can't do it. You can't be intellectually honest and say that a formation that breaks the upside 72% of the time is a bearish formation. It is not. It is a bullish formation on short term. But when I'm weighing that up with the other evidence, right, I'm weighing it up with all of the reasons I just listed, you also can't say it's a bullish formation. So you can't say it's bearish, you can't really say it's bullish. All you can really do is wait until 3 days from now, or less than 3 days from now, when we get the break. It'll probably be within 24 hours, if I'm quite honest with you, and then react from there. But if I'm being completely honest, I would say yes, there's more bearish evidence than bullish evidence, but the bearish evidence in itself isn't very indicative either, because the bearish evidence could just suggest a drop down to this yellow ascending line, which is only a drop down to something like 36k flat. It also could suggest a drop down to 34k, which wouldn't even break the upwards trend because we would have seen equal lows. It's only when we get down to something like 32k that it becomes an actual correction worth watching. And even at that point, even at the point of 32k, if we flip back to this ascending channel chart, 32k is not really a problem. When Bitcoin starts actually getting macro bearish, no, not even macro, long-term, medium-term bearish, right, would be a drop below 28.6k. Because if we drop below 28.6k, we'd be dropping below this ascending channel formation. We'd be dropping below the nearest support below the major zone at 32k. So, if we're in between 28.6 and 32, you could just say, oh, it's a liquidity grab, it's just a scam move. But if we drop below 28.6k, we've dropped below 2 support zones. That very much confirms a break of the first one, right? So let me just clarify what I'm saying, because I went on a bit of a tangent there. It's only when we drop below 28.6k that I would say that Bitcoin actually flips bearish to any reasonable degree. Because doing that would mean a drop below this ascending channel formation, a drop below 32k, a drop below bull market support band, a drop below Gaussian channel, a drop below 200-week SMA, Only when a drop below 28.6k occurs will I ever say that Bitcoin is bearish on a long-term basis or even a medium-term basis, right? I guess medium-term, it depends on your interpretation of medium-term, right? I'm talking months. But obviously, short-term is leaning more bearish right now, which makes sense considering the fact that we're testing a major bearish resistance zone and the top of an ascending channel that's been playing out since July 2022. It's unsurprising that we're seeing weakness here. So if I'm being completely honest, as I said, I do think there is more bearish short-term evidence than bullish short-term evidence. It's just very difficult for me to sit here and claim that I trust the charts fully when, if I was to say that, oh yeah, Bitcoin's bearish right now while we have an ascending triangle formation. It's just something that I simply cannot do and remain intellectually honest as an individual. So I would say that as of right now, I guess you could say I'm on the fence about the short-term on Bitcoin. I am acknowledging there's more bearish evidence than bullish evidence, but I'm certainly not making any short positions or long positions in this range. I will wait until we see a breakout to do that, right? Now, let me make something very clear. If we do see a breakout, based on the fact that Bitcoin has an ascending RSI support, okay, stemming back from September 10th, if we do see a breakdown of this ascending triangle formation, it stands to reason that we should be seeing a breakdown of this ascending RSI support. And if we see a breakdown of this ascending RSI support, it stands to reason that we will likely break down from the ascending yellow line over here, and we will likely break down from 36k. So I will say that it is likely that if Bitcoin does break down from this ascending triangle, that we see lower prices than 36k, potentially even going all the way down to 34, 33.3, right? I think that's very likely, or even a drop down to this green box. Realistically, it's just very hard to predict that as of right now. We'd have to wait and see how the drop progresses, but the drop would be significant. I don't think it would be a small drop. Total cryptocurrency market cap reflects this quite well. On the total cryptocurrency market cap chart, on the 4-hourly chart, we have a very similar line to, I'm going to delete the triangle right now so you can see the line, a very similar line to this line on the screen for Bitcoin right now. They match up quite well. A very similar RSI support, if we're looking at the daily chart as well on total cryptocurrency market cap, you can see the RSI support line forming there, very similar to Bitcoin. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Bitcoin breaks down from this triangle, for us to see a retest of this yellow line, and breaking this yellow line would lead to quite significant drop. So if you really want to look at what the important line is in the short term, yeah, it's the triangle, but ultimately it's actually this yellow line that stems below the triangle, because that yellow line is represented on not only the Bitcoin chart, but also on total cryptocurrency market cap chart, and also represented on total cryptocurrency market cap RSI and Bitcoin daily chart RSI. So it's really this line here that holds the most weight for Bitcoin right now. This is a short-term video, so obviously it's slightly disjointed. There's a lot of different elements to look into. This is why I don't necessarily find myself to be most articulate in short-term videos, because of the complexities of it. It's all over the place a little bit. But I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say here. I think I've made my points very clear. As for Ethereum, Ethereum right now, just like Bitcoin, is at strong resistance. It's on a macro resistance level, actually. You can see the macro resistance being the red line on the screen, the horizontal one. We tested that, rejected from it quite harshly, yet to break above that line. And we've come back down, actually, and we've seen a support flip from the previous descending channel it had at least. So we can actually go down and test that again. It does have room for Bitcoin to go downwards. Because obviously Ethereum to an extent predicts the Bitcoin prices and vice versa. So if Ethereum was on a massive support zone right now, you'd be quite foolish to say that Bitcoin is overly bearish, but Ethereum actually can very well move down 5-6% very easily before it reaches its next support zone, which would be the bottom of this, or the top of this ascending channel formation. So Ethereum has room to move down. So does total cryptocurrency market cap. So does Bitcoin. It's worth noting all of that. It's not like there's any immediate supports right now. There are, however, immediate resistances. So guys, in conclusion, the first golden cross in Bitcoin's weekly chart price history is incoming. It is an undoubtedly bullish thing. It's certainly not bearish, but I think there are better ways to analyze the Bitcoin chart, and I don't think it should be taken at face value the way people are taking it as face value. They don't have a 100% accuracy rate. And as I said, there's always other explanations for price movements. These moving averages, yeah, they're all well and good, but there's way better ways to look at charts, so don't get caught up in it too much, and don't get caught up in the hopium that surrounds them. We then have, obviously, short-term, medium-term, long-term, which I explained very in-depthly and thoroughly. We have a formation here that's breaking out in the next 2 or 3 days, so directional move will occur quite shortly on Bitcoin. There's not going to be much more waiting. As for whether it's bullish or bearish, as I said very clearly, it's murky. It's very difficult to say. I would say there are more bearish indicators than bullish indicators, but I'm certainly not making any decisions in terms of short positions and long positions while we're in this range. I will have to wait to see more data. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. So guys, Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Check out the Crypto Academy. You can see this course. We've got a trading course here, Become a Trader 10-unit course developed by myself and Megawell Crypto. If you want to learn how to trade, you want to learn how to analyze charts in a professional manner, you can do so by doing this course, right? 10 units. It tells you everything you need to know about trading. Market patterns, indicators, candlestick patterns, market psychology, how to find trades. Everything you need is on this course. Check it out if you're interested. The email address is in the website link, which you can find in the description below. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you tomorrow.